Hi, I'm Jen Davies. I'm the Manager of Career Development Services at the Academic Advising and Career Center. And it's my pleasure to welcome parents and family members to Get Started. What I'd like to talk about in this session is how we're going to work with you, partner with you to support your student. So who are we anyway? Well, at the Academic Advising and Career Center, we help students to navigate transitions, both their academic transitions, for example, from high school to university, from year 1 to year 2, etc., and then with their career transitions. So sometimes that involves a move into further education, sometimes that involves moving into the workforce directly. Both are fabulous, so that's what we do. We support students in making informed decisions about their future. And it's important that I like to say we support students making those decisions because we won't make them for them. We help students analyze their options, understand the requirements of the university, help them understand requirements for grad school programs, for example, help them understand employer requirements, but we do not tell a student what they have to do, except where the university requires it, of course. We also create opportunities for students to develop skills. For example, at the Academic Advising and Career Center, we coordinate the work-study program. The work-study programs are part-time jobs on campus. I'll talk more about those later. And so we help the university to create those opportunities for students to expand themselves. And then finally, we connect students to supportive resources. The Academic Advising and Career Center we pride ourselves as staff members on knowing what's going on in other departments. And so what we like to tell a student is, even if you're not sure where to go, we'll probably know. So it's totally okay to reach out to us to find out, what can I do? Where can I go? Is such a service available at the university? We are very happy to do that. Because when we're on campus, we are located between the biggest lecture hall on campus and Tim Hortons. So it's a very high traffic area. There's a good chance first year students, particularly if we were on campus, would be walking by and seeing us. So please, please, please have your students reach out. We have chats daily. We check our email constantly. Our phone is open. Please have students reach out to us. But you're still important. We're not trying to push you out of the way. Your role remains essential, but just like your role has changed as your student has changed, and grown and developed as a person, your role is changing too and evolving along with them. There are excellent resources for you available on a number of different University of Toronto websites. So I would like to strongly encourage you to access the links that we've provided on the Get Started page and take the opportunity to get familiar with the many ways that we are supporting your student, because you can encourage your student to access the things that are here. We also would like to recommend a great book. It's a free ebook. You can find the link on our webpage. It's a book by 2 university professors from York University. And it covers everything from new ways of learning through differing career paths, how there are many routes to the same destination, which we're going to talk a little bit about later as well. Now, it is written by 2 university professors, and you can tell a little bit in the style, but I would like to encourage you and your students to check it out. It is free. So let's spend a minute and think a little bit about the factors that your student's going to be managing as they transition into university. Now, it's a little different this time because of COVID-19. Your student will actually be transitioning twice. First, they're going to be transitioning into our online learning environment. And then as and when we move on to campus, your student's going to be transitioning to our physical environment. There are some things that our physical environment and our virtual environment will share in common though for students, and that is much bigger classes than they're used to. High school classes typically max out around, I think, 30 or 32. They're pretty much not allowed to put more than that in a room, whereas in university, many first year classes, especially notoriously, have 500 students in them. And so that's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a different strategy that your student is going to use to get attention from the instructor and the teaching assistants. Your student may never have had teaching assistants before. So your student's going to have to put up their hand or send an email and reach out to get attention. The evaluation methods are also different. I'm sure if you attended post-secondary, or you may have heard that in post-secondary, there are a lot of exams, and that is true. There are midterm exams halfway through the semester, and then of course, final exams at the end of the term. There are typically fewer assignments and they're worth more. So a student really shouldn't just decide not to do one. That's not a good idea. Class and study time are different. Your student has a lot of free time. We're going to look at someone's schedule. I should say time that looks free. But in fact, as we'll show you, your student really should be managing their time thoughtfully to ensure that they're able to accomplish all of the study tasks that they're going to need to accomplish. And we'll talk about what those study tasks are. It's a new social environment. So one of the great things about the University of Toronto is that we welcome students from all over the world, all over Ontario, and all corners of Toronto. So hopefully your student will have the opportunity to meet some new people, make some new friends, expand their social horizons while they're at university. Again, you may have experienced or you may have heard that the academic demands are different, and absolutely that's true. The same way that grade 12 should have been a little bit tougher, a little more work, a little more thought required than was needed in grade 11. First year university is going to require a little bit more from your student. And we're confident that they can do it. We're here to help. We're here to make sure that they have access to all the resources that they need to get things done. Much like the Spider-Man principle, with great power comes great responsibility. The same is true for every college and university student. They have a great amount of freedom. They have flexibility in choosing their classes, when they take their classes, when they do their work. And with that comes the responsibility to ensure that it gets done. Finally, your student, as we've already said, is growing, evolving, developing, changing in wonderful and exciting ways. Your student will not be the same person at the end of their degree that they were when they started. And they may not see it because it's going to happen probably slowly for them, but you'll see it. And so hopefully you'll take the opportunities when you find them to share with them some of the cool ways that you're noticing they're growing and developing. Finally, oh yes, I cannot forget, your student, please encourage them to ask questions. They should ask questions all over the place. They should access services. There are so many services at the university, way more than they probably had at their high school. We've heard that there's a little bit of stigma in high schools about asking for help. The opposite is true in universities. Smart students go ask for help. If you don't understand something, ask a classmate. When your classmate explains that you still don't understand it, ask your TA or your professor. Still not getting it, please go to one of the many services that are available. The Math and Stats Learning Center, the Writing Center, the Language Development Center. Please, we are all here to help your student to grow. And I already named a whole bunch of these places, but to highlight another couple that your student may be able to take advantage of, a really good one is the Health and Wellness Center. There is a short video on the Get Started platform for your student to get familiar with the Health and Wellness Center. They have nurses available all day. So if they're open, your student can talk to a nurse. Maybe they have a headache. Maybe they aren't feeling well. Maybe they hurt themselves. Please have them take advantage. Maybe your student's not feeling well and maybe it's an issue more near to the heart or near to the head. Again, the nurse will have a chat with the student and then make a referral as appropriate. So we have counselors on campus. We even have a doctor on campus all the time, I believe. So please, please, please encourage your student to reach out. I'd like to spend a moment and talk a little bit about time management for university because this is a bit of a surprise. Sometimes things surprise students, how quickly things happen. So I'd like to compare sort of a typical semester in high school and a typical semester in university. So in high school, your students used to, assuming they went to a semester at high school, I should say, they're used to about a 5-month term and then about a week for exams, maybe 2, but definitely not a whole month. In university, it's a 3-month term and then a month of exams and holidays. And your student is going to be asked to do the same amount of work, maybe even a little more, in 3 months that they were doing in about 5. And so really being thoughtful about their time, managing their time wisely is going to be a very important key to their success. So let's take a look at a hypothetical student to really understand how a university student's time needs to be managed. Your student has already met AJ. AJ is our hypothetical student in the Get Started platform. So AJ is a typical student who's pursuing both science and a social science. And I might not know about the social science, but I do know that AJ is pursuing science because of the labs, right? You can see practical 1, practical 2, practical 3. Those are lab courses. And AJ is taking 5 classes. That's not a requirement at the university, but AJ is choosing to take 5. There could be a wide variety of reasons for that. So as you can see, the classes start as early as 8 a.m. Yes, 8 a.m. And it looks like AJ has a tutorial that goes as late as 7. Just so you know, we have classes that start at 7 p.m. and end at 9 or even 10 o'clock at night. So your student may be up late to engage in their classes, and please accommodate. Please make sure that they can get to their classes as needed. AJ also has a part-time job. Now, to me, this looks like a job off campus, which is cool. There are many jobs off campus. Hopefully AJ is pursuing that safely. But I'm pretty sure it's off campus because it's Wednesday nights and Saturdays, and typically there's not a lot going on business-wise on Wednesday nights and Saturdays on the campus. AJ has decided to get involved in a club, and it looks like they have a meeting on Tuesdays at noon. And AJ is also involved in their departmental association. AJ is studying biology and political science, and the Political Science Students Association is very active, so AJ is getting involved with them. And I see Thursday night basketball. Now, when we are on campus, we have lots of drop-in basketball opportunities. Those are not currently happening at the time of recording, but maybe AJ gets together with people to watch awesome NBA games. Maybe they like to watch the still champion Raptors, as far as I'm concerned, because they haven't given away the trophy, the NBA. Maybe they're rewatching great basketball games. Whatever the case, AJ is involved in basketball on Thursday nights. And AJ used to commute and is anticipating that when classes return to campus, whenever that may be, AJ will be commuting from home. I make the assumption that AJ lives at home. A lot of our students do, or at least live in the community. And AJ lives a bit of a distance away. It looks like AJ budgets an hour to get to and from campus. And so while classes are online, your student actually doesn't have to do that, which is actually really nice. They get 2 hours back maybe each day. AJ is currently getting about 2 hours back each day, which is pretty nice. But that's something your students should plan for when we come back on campus. And don't forget family and friends. Your student should definitely plan to spend some time with family and friends. Looks like Monday night dinners and Saturday night dinners seem to be a routine with family and friends. Maybe that's Sunday with friends, not sure. But it is really important that there is some social time. Our brains, our hearts, our minds, need a little bit of a break. And so it's important that students don't spend all their time on school. Now, there is something important missing here. Usually someone says lunch, and you're right, lunch should probably be blocked on there. Wednesday especially is a tough day for AJ, but that's not what I was thinking of. What's missing is study time. So at the AANCC, we recommend a student spend a minimum of 1 hour, but preferably 2 or 3 hours every week for each hour of class that they have studying. I'll explain what studying is in a second. So if you count the light blue blocks up quickly, AJ has about something like 18 hours of class. So we're suggesting an additional 18, 36, maybe even more, depends on AJ, hours of study time. Now, what goes into study time? So of course it's reading the book, very important to read the textbooks for your classes, but also digging in the library, finding articles, for writing that paper. And remember I said that paper is going to be worth more than it might have been in high school, very likely. So very important that the student, dedicates that time to finding, good resources in the library. Study time would also include exam review. Exam studying really should begin in September when 5 months of work that a student is used to having is now happening in 3 months. It's very important that exam review begins right away. Midterm exams begin in October. We're going to look at some important dates. So that's something else that a student can be doing with their study time, is reviewing things. This might be time to go get help from a TA, a teaching assistant, or the professor. Okay, so these are all things that students need to budget their time for. So from a very relaxed schedule, we have gone to a schedule that's actually pretty busy. In all honesty, this isn't a schedule we recommend that students have, but it is a reality for a lot of our students.